On Google now, more than ever before, you are seeing Reddit threads showing up at the second or third query when people are asking questions. And this isn't by accident. Google noticed that Reddit, as a solo modifier for search terms, was being added more frequently than any other word, more frequently than cheap, more frequently than top. People were adding in the word Reddit, meaning they wanted to hear from other people. So, what does that mean for higher ed? It means that there's an opportunity in front of you to not control the message, but to influence it.
Hey, welcome to the Higher Ed Storytelling University podcast, a show where we bring together Marcom leaders from both inside and outside higher ed to give you fresh perspectives on successful organic content creation and strategy in higher education. My name is John Azzoni. I'm the founder at Unveiled, a video production company working specifically with colleges on their storytelling and commercial video content. You can learn more about our work at unveiled.tv. That's UNVEILD. And if creating content that resonates emotionally with your audience is a priority for you, then you need to be subscribed to the Higher Ed Storytellers Digest. It's my weekly newsletter where we cover a lot of ground about content creation and strategy in higher ed. So sign up for that for free at unveiled.tv/newsletter. All right, let's get on with the show. Well, hey folks, I've got a special treat for you today. For anyone in higher ed, I'm looking to dive deep into Reddit. And if Reddit isn't on your radar, I would say this is a must. There's a lot of platforms that pop up all the time, and you're maybe like, oh, do we add this to the mix? Do we get on TikTok? Do we get on, Threads, whatever? It's another platform to manage. It's more work. But not being on Reddit these days is sort of like saying, I don't want to be on Google or like, I don't want to show up in AI search results. Because as you'll hear in this episode, that's where search engines and ChatGPT and Perplexity and all these places are pulling a lot of their content from is Reddit. And you want to be in there and you want to show up in a positive way and you want to guide the things that are being said about your institution. So my guest today is Ross Simmonds. Ross is the CEO at Foundation, which is a content marketing agency, as well as distribution.ai, an all-in-one content repurposing platform. And as you might expect, he creates some really interesting content that caught my attention, specifically around Reddit and the massive opportunity for higher ed marketers to tap into this platform and really understand how students are already using it to shape perceptions, to make decisions, to share unfiltered opinions about colleges and programs. In this episode, we're going to cover so much stuff. We're going to cover why your school and even your specific program should have its own subreddit, what to do with it once you have one, how to interact, what kind of content to post, what to avoid, how not to get banned, so much stuff. And we also dive deep into a Q&A from our actual listeners. So stick around and get ready to learn a thing or two. So Ross, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, John. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome. Let's start off on a light tangent. So what's something that you've been nerding out about lately? Could be work related or not.
Yeah. So a lot of my work is done in the wonderful world of search engine optimization, now generative engine optimization, lots of optimizations. But I've been geeking out a lot about sleep optimization. So like, how can I maximize my sleep to be deep and great and awesome? So I have gotten a few conclusions that have helped. Like I made sure that my room is absolutely pitch dark. That has been cool. Eye masks have been a game changer for me. And then I've also put lavender on my eye mask, which has helped a lot. And I've been able to get some pretty deep sleep. So sleep has become an obsession for me recently. And I think 21-year-old Ross would think I'm out to lunch because I didn't need a lot of sleep back then, but now it's important.
Yeah. It's becoming more and more important to me too. Like, so we do a hybrid homeschool program with my kids this year as the first year we're doing it. So I'm down to working like 4 days a week. So like I get up, so I can do all day Friday homeschool with the kids. So I make up for that by waking up at like 5 every morning to just crank out a couple hours of work, kind of get that extra day back into my schedule. And the sleep optimization has become more and more important to where like something just very simple could throw it off. And but when 5 o'clock hits, I'm like, I can't do it today. I gotta sleep in. So it's becoming like, I really pay attention to it. Now, you said it's an eye mask?
Yeah, just like an eye mask. I've tried a bunch of them, a bunch of different variations, and they all pretty much do the same. But I found one that has like a cushion that goes around your face and it gives you like a little bit of space between your eyelids and the mask, and it allows you to still blink. So in those
Oh,
first
okay.
few minutes before you like doze off and you're blinking, it doesn't like irritate your eyelashes. So
Oh,
it's
you're talking
small
about an
things.
actual eye mask. I thought you were talking about like a eye, like an Apple product, like an
No,
eye
no, this
mask.
is there's no tech in this. This is
Yeah.
just basic, basic things. Yeah, this is a real eye mask that you just put on your face. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, cool. So you're coming to us from, you have a couple companies,
Yeah,
Foundation as well as distribution.ai.
yeah,
So give us some context for our listeners. We like to bring in folks from, outside of higher ed. I know you've done a little bit of work in higher ed, but
yeah.
give us some context for our listeners where you're coming from.
Yeah. So Foundation is a content marketing firm. We started 10 years ago with the exclusive focus on B2B and SaaS. So we worked with some of the top software companies in the world like Eventbrite, Canva, Procore, those types of brands, helping them with their content marketing, SEO, social media marketing. And back in 2013, we started with our first, 2018, we started with our first Reddit strategy for our clients. So we were very early in Reddit. I wrote a book on Reddit way back then. Didn't get a lot of sales because not everybody was bought into Reddit and didn't believe in the channel. But now you fast forward today and it's everywhere. And then we have distribution.ai. So we started a software company called distribution.ai with the simple belief and philosophy that there's a lot of brands, a lot of businesses, and a lot of creators who are investing a lot of money in creating great content, but that content collects dust. So we wanted to
Hmm.
create something that makes it easy to share on LinkedIn, to share on Reddit, to share on X, Twitter, Facebook, whatever channel you want to, and we'll take your YouTube video, your podcast, your blog post, and then scale that so you can have it distributed on the various platforms.
That's awesome. I love that. And I was checking out distribution.ai because I was like, oh, I think our clients need this and our audience in general needs this
I
because
love
that's
that.
one of the things that like I try to drive into my audience is like it doesn't matter what content you create. If you don't
Right.
distribute that, like it's
It's for
you can't
nothing.
just leave it up to the algorithms. It's
Right.
they're going to do whatever. The algorithms aren't catered to you. They're
Exactly.
catered to the companies that wrote them,
100%.
So
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, like oftentimes people create things and they'll spend like hours putting in time and energy to produce an asset, but then they'll spend 1 minute to try to distribute it and get it in front of the right people. And I feel like that's a bit of a waste. And that's why we created distribution.ai. I also wrote a book on the subject around distribution a few years ago, and it's become a part of our DNA at Foundation. And hopefully more people can embrace it because it can change everything.
awesome, awesome. So I got you on here talking about Reddit because I have been seeing your stuff on Reddit, read some of your articles and stuff. You had about one article that's called "Why Aren't You Using Reddit?" And in that you say Reddit's it was the number 3 most visited site in the US and has partnerships with LLMs. So from your perspective, why is Reddit so uniquely positioned for higher ed marketers today?
So with a lot of higher ed, their audience, their customers, the people who they are trying to reach are mostly skeptical of brand communication. They're skeptical of communication from a business, from an org, from an institution. They trust what other people say. Their peers, people who they see online on TikTok, influencers, like that's who they trust. And Reddit is filled with people sharing their opinions, their perspective, sometimes raw, sometimes real, opinions on why you should go to this school, why you shouldn't take this degree. And these conversations are happening right now, whether we like it or not. And for a lot of the institutions, you have a very interesting situation when you see the rise of Reddit directly in the SERP, aka the search engine results page. So on Google now, more than ever before, you are seeing Reddit threads showing up at the second or third query when people are asking questions. And this isn't by accident. Google noticed that Reddit, as a solo modifier for search terms, was being added more frequently than any other word, more frequently than cheap, more frequently than top. People were adding in the word Reddit, meaning they wanted to hear from other people that would be transparently talking about your institution, what your campus life was like, what your culture is like. They wanted to see what other people would see or say. So Google adjusted the algorithm to increase the visibility of Reddit on the SERP. So What does that mean for higher ed? It means that there's an opportunity in front of you to not control the message, but to influence it. Some of you may have already been a little bit too late at getting your own subreddit, and somebody already runs that, and there's hundreds of students, alumni, thousands of students and alumni talking about your brand every single day. That doesn't mean that you can't still be there. It just means you have to think a little bit differently about how you get there. Are you going to engage? Are you going to request to be added as a mod? Are you going to have to create your own subreddit from scratch? There's a lot of complexities that come into it depending on the maturity of the communities on Reddit and their brand association and the stories that are being told about your institution today.
That's great. Yeah, I do. I'm one of those people that types in something something Reddit,
Right.
and and it's really interesting. I mean, anytime, like, because I don't really trust like product reviews too much on
No.
Amazon, because you can
Yeah.
like, I mean, you can sort of tell when
You can.
they've solicited reviews, and
Yeah.
even if it says verified purchase, I like to go on Reddit and find out the real solution. And so, yeah,
100%.
people are getting more curious about it. I polled my audience to ask, if Reddit was part of their school's marketing admission efforts.
Cool.
76% said no, but they were
Wow.
curious about
Wow.
it. So yes, 76% not at all using. 12% said no, and they weren't curious.
Yeah. That's wild.
So they were saying absolutely not. But
Yeah.
76% not on it, curious about it. So this feel like this is the perfect episode for them. For these people, if they really started focusing on a Reddit strategy, what would be the evidence they might see that tells them it's working?
Yeah. Well, I think some of them, so there's a few things that you want to understand first and foremost. It's like, I would do an analysis of my brand name or queries associated with the degrees that I want to show up for. I would do an analysis of the domains that show up when people type in those queries, because that's where the vast majority of discovery happens. It's still with Google. So I would analyze those domains. What you'll probably find is that for a percentage of those, Reddit is one. Like for a percentage of the keywords that you're targeting with Google or even with your PPC budget, Reddit is showing up for some of them. Then what I want you to then understand is, what are those Reddit threads saying? Because some of them could truly be resulting in millions of dollars worth of tuition, hundreds of applications not reaching you because people are seeing negative sentiment on Reddit and saying, this isn't a school for me. This isn't a culture for me. This isn't where I want to go, for things that aren't even true, that might be inaccurate, that could be misinformation. And when this happens, you're not seeing the losses because they never show up at your inbox. So that's one opportunity that could be very obvious for folks as a reduction of risk. The other piece of it is, when you think about the fact that people are typing in top colleges for certain things, I would be curious to know how often Reddit shows up for those types of queries. And if you're not in those lists that are showing up, you're having a bit of a double whammy that you might not know about. The double whammy being, on one end, people are being influenced on Google, but on the second end, the most highly cited sources on ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, all of the different LLMs, I believe in the top three is Reddit. So Reddit's comments and Reddit threads about the best university for X, Y, and Z is not something that you can actively track inside of Google Search Console or anything like that, but it's influencing your potential students. And that's happening right now. It could even be influencing whether or not people apply to work there. Like it could be professors saying, what's it like being a professor at X, Y, and Z campus or university? And if there's a Reddit thread from somebody who talks about that, that's going to influence them as well. So those things all come into the mix, and it's hard to track. But that would be, to me, that makes the case for it.
Hey, do you have a B-roll library that you're excited about? Do you want one? Because if content repurposing is something that you kind of geek out about, this is especially for you. And I want to tell you about my friends Jay and Tara at Walsh College, who brought a dying content strategy back to life just from a simple 2-day shoot with Unveiled that resulted in a massive B-roll library for them. Here they are.
So in early 22, we had a big leadership change across almost all departments. The direction of the college started to become more clear. Once we had that real clarity of who we are as Walsh College, the content creation of everything else became much easier to do. And the commercial ended up being the exciting piece that we could tie everybody into in all departments and get everybody excited about what was to come. So we did a commercial in 2018, and then we didn't do one again until 2022. And in that time, we had exhausted every asset from all of it. We were really using a lot of stock image, a lot of things that were just very non-authentic. So the engagement on everything was low. The numbers in our enrollment was going right down with it. When John and I first talked, he was talking about this subscription base that he had, which I thought was really cool. It's a really unique idea to be able to make sure you have content ongoing. I knew it wasn't in the budget for us, so we decided to do a one-off. So what we did was we tacked on one commercial and 2 student / alumni interviews. When we took the B-roll from all sides. So we took the B-roll from the commercial day, we took the B-roll from the student day. I've now gotten a year's worth of content. And really it's gonna stretch even further because I still have stuff I haven't even used because of the amount of things that we were able to do inside of a 2-day shoot.
There's so much footage that you get back. It's almost shocking how much additional there is for you to work with, which is why we've been able to build out entirely new videos using clips that no one has seen before or take screenshots from it and without repeating it. It's been a huge transformation in the way that we can market and the way that I can design.
We're seeing an increased traffic flow into the website. We're seeing alumni coming back and thanking us for the directions that we're going. I think a lot of that has to do with a lot of the efforts that we're doing, but none of that happens without the excitement that comes from getting the name out there and getting people to understand that Walsh is changing. And we're changing into a direction that's exciting for not only our future students, but our existing students and our alumni as well.
So whether we're working together on a commercial campaign like we did for Walsh or an annual storytelling subscription, you get to keep all the B-roll and raw interview footage at no additional cost. And that alone could be super transformative to your ability to create ongoing content with limited resources. So book a call with me to chat further at unveiled.tv. Unveiled is spelled UNVEILD. All right, let's get back to the show. So give us a rundown of Reddit, and let's start at the basics for folks in that 76% that are curious but aren't quite on it yet. Like, how does it differ from other platforms? What's kind of the lay of the land?
Yeah. So on Reddit, there's 3 key accounts that I want you to understand. One is the user account. So the user account is just like a profile on X, on LinkedIn, on any of the other platforms where it's an individual who is going around and communicating as a person. Now that person, however, on Reddit can be fully anonymous. So it could be Ross Simmonds or it could be RS 2943, right? Like I can throw all the names and keywords and blah, 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 and be a fully anonymous user talking about your institution. And you'll never be able to put 2 and 2 together that this is the person who is the head of a certain program in your school. Like those are things that you can't put together on Reddit. So there's users, and those users can create content in the form of links. They can create text posts. They can share videos, images, all kinds of different types of assets. Now, the second thing that you can create on Reddit is called a subreddit. So a subreddit is a micro community within the larger ecosystem of Reddit. So the same way that on Facebook, we have Facebook groups, on Reddit, we have subreddits. And in these subreddits, people join, so that profile would join the subreddit to have a conversation with people on a certain topic. So I might join my alma mater's subreddit to stay connected to the university the same way that I would subscribe to your newsletter, right? And the alumni would join that subreddit to see what's going on with events, to see what's going on with the culture. All of those things happen today. Students join when they're about to apply, or if they have gotten in, they've gotten accepted, they share their acceptance letters in these subreddits. People celebrate, they cheer. When they graduate, they share pictures. All of these things are happening again inside of these subreddits. Now, the other thing that happens on Reddit is a bit of a self-regulated market. And what I love about this is that it is all maintained by the users. So upvotes are a thing that gives you karma. And I know we're using words that you might not understand. That's okay. You can dive deeper into the Reddit world and you'll learn these things. But karma is essentially brownie points, if you will, that say this is somebody who you can trust. This is somebody who adds value to the community, to the subreddit, to the world of Reddit. And they are allowed to comment and engage, and you don't have to worry about them. So, you want to build up karma with your profile so you can go into subreddits associated with your institution and have meaningful conversations. So, that's a bit of the lay of the land for Reddit that gives you a bit of an insight into how it works.
Yeah, super helpful. Okay. I love that. And we're going to get into some of those nuances here we're going to do a quick lightning Q&A round here
Let's do it.
before we get into the rest of the questions. All right. So we got Denise Nunley from Arizona Christian University. Denise asks, there are very few questions about our college on Reddit. I use Reddit answers once a month to take a look at what's being said and have started our college subreddit. Just not sure what we should be doing with the subreddit. So what would you say to Denise?
Well, I appreciate this question. This is a great starting point. The fact that you have a presence and you have created a subreddit is exactly the first step. Now, the second step is to promote that subreddit with your existing students, alum, etc. So the same way you announced when you were on LinkedIn or Facebook back in the day, you're going to do that with your students, your alumni, your faculty. Everyone needs to know that you're on Reddit so they can join. Then you're going to, if you own your own subreddit, you are a mod. And a mod is somebody who owns and kind of operates as the admin, if you will, for that community. You have a functionality in the back end of Reddit that is super powerful. It's called scheduling posts. And what I would do is I would be scheduling posts over the course of the next year, not year, quarter, let's say, of pre-established content that I want to be fed into the Reddit machine. Some of these are going to be specifically about your campus, about your culture, about the institution, about your degrees, about your programs, and you're going to schedule these with SEO in mind. So you're going to create some that might be around our XYZ program or whatever it might be. I don't know the institution's target. Like if you have a master's of theology, whatever it might be, maybe you're going to create a piece that's dedicated to that and you're going to schedule that to go to your subreddit in the future. And it's going to be a long form piece that talks about the story of students who got their master's and what that experience was like. So you're going to schedule those pieces, but you're also going to look at blog content that you might have published in the past, any stories that you told in the past that generated lots of clicks, engagement, and relevant conversations with your ideal audience. You're going to schedule those links as well to go into your community. You're just going to fill up the pipeline so your subreddit always has stories being shared that will inspire conversation and also get people talking. And as that happens, the numbers go up. The last piece that I will share with this question would be you have to have a code for the type of content that you want to share on Reddit. And I believe in a concept called the 4 E's: educate, engage, entertain, and empower. Every story that you tell should fall into one of those 4 categories. And if it does that, it educates people by providing them with information they didn't have, it entertains them by putting a smile on their face, it engages them by striking up a conversation, or it empowers students to feel good about the fact that they went to your school, then those types of stories will win.
So you're saying stories. So that's categorically different to me, I think, than if you were to say, okay, I'm going to post like, we have such and such this at our school, like very direct sell type stuff. Am I hearing that correctly?
You're hearing it correctly. I think there's a mix of both. So I believe you need to have mostly stories on Reddit, but a few of the things should be sell oriented, where you're trying to really drive value, where you're educating on a certain program or some initiative like that, but they're less on the mix. So I kind of always view marketing kind of like investing. So you should never be super risky and go all in on stocks. You should never go all in on bonds. You should never go all in on crypto. You should kind of have a bit of a balance. In this case, I would say you want to be 75% stories and then 25% you're going into your own subreddit with a call to action driving back to your core offering.
Got it. Okay, I love that. All right, next question. Josie Sittig from University of Chicago's Data Science Institute. She writes, I've been thinking about making a program-specific Reddit account and responding to questions about the program only in the main UChicago thread. I feel like it might come across weird if I were to respond to posts outside of the UChicago subreddit community, like our grad admissions. I think people have to be careful with how they are responding to questions, since I feel like most of the questions are coming from those wanting feedback from alumni or students currently in the program versus people who run the program.
Mm.
But I'd be curious to hear opinions on this. Kind of a nuanced question, but
Yeah, it's
what
it's
do
the
you think
exact
there?
right question. And the reason is a lot of people play both strategies, where on one side it's going into exclusively your university's subreddit and responding to people in there. That's a perfect strategy. I think it makes absolute sense to do that. However, when you do want to expand your reach, I have no issues with you going into other subreddits and engaging as well. This brings new people into your community. However, when you go into these other subreddits, you do have to be selfless versus selfish. So you can't go in and just plug yourself, or you're going to be on a fast track to getting banned. And I know I've been banned like 18 times from Reddit. So, like, there's no question that you can't go in and just start seeding your links in every comment saying, oh, you should use us. We're the best school. Like, that doesn't work. But you can give people options. Like, you can say, hey, it looks like you're on the West Coast. Here are some of the schools. I know, shameless plug, I work for so and so. So, of course, I'm going to include us in the mix. Talk like a human. Don't
Mhm.
AIify it and sound very robotic. And like, you have to like say, shameless plug, like I will say, like, be transparent, but include yourself in the mentions. That is all good because you're adding value to the communities. And we've done this time and time again with our brands and our clients that we work with. And you would be surprised how many times we get people who reply back and say, oh, wow, thank you for actually getting Reddit and not showing up and just spamming yourself. Like, that's the way that you want to do it. So go in and kill them with kindness and just add as much as value as possible.
Cool. That's great advice. Yeah, to just the shameless self promotion. That's a
Yeah.
perfect, just
Just let it
thing
be
to
known.
always
Let it be
have in
known
your
where
back
you're from.
pocket.
Exactly. And one more thing I would throw out is that you don't want to make every single post about the same thing. So, yes, you want to talk about yourself when people have questions about your programs. Yes, you want to go into other threads when people are asking about your programs, but you probably should also be in the our gymnastics subreddit where someone is saying, what's the gymnastics team like? Or what is the gym like? You want to go into some communities that have absolutely nothing to do with you selling and trying to get an applicant and still add value in those conversations. If someone's asking a funny question about homecoming, have some fun. Have fun with your accounts. Reddit is not a place to kind of be stuffy. That would be my other piece of advice.
Love it. All right. Rachel Taderick from Worcester Polytechnic Institute. She says, I've been seeing research that suggests Reddit is one of the biggest sources for AI/LLM search, which we just talked about. We know prospective students are likely using AI in their college search. What strategy does Ross recommend for leveraging Reddit to get your university cited in AI results? Anything additional that we didn't address a few minutes ago?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece would be to take into consideration the value of getting your students to use Reddit. Like, if you have a program or any type of, or alumni, right? Like, let me put on my B2B hat for a second and then hope that someone's out there can get some value from this. So one of the strategies that we've tapped into with a lot of B2B brands is they oftentimes ask for reviews on sites like Capterra, Trust Radius. These are like software sites. And the clients who have started to ask for reviews on Reddit have seen a massive increase in both the sentiment and positive citations on Reddit for people who are leaving positive reviews in their subreddit. Now, I don't know enough right now to say, like, how do universities ask for reviews? Is that a thing? Maybe not. If so, I would 120% start finding ways to ask alumni or asking students to give a review of your experience going through this program. What was it like living on campus? Give us your feedback on Reddit in our subreddit. Because what's going to happen is the LLMs will find those reviews and it will use that to inform the prospective student when they ask, what's it like living on campus at such and such of a university or college? and then that response will be the response. So try to encourage and inspire reviews would be one of my key pieces of advice. And then I'd also encourage people to run Reddit ads to increase the mind share on Reddit. So people are more likely to talk about you because they're seeing you on that platform.
Oh, that's smart. I hadn't thought about reviews on Reddit, but yeah, if you're in the subreddit and someone's just kind of along the lines of that storytelling of just like,
Right.
telling a story of a great experience that they had. I think
And
that's
that's
super
one of the
smart.
other pieces. Like, John, that's a great point. So I know universities do a lot of work in storytelling about people who have graduated, like alumni who have had success, and sharing about their successes after they get awards and stuff. Repurpose those stories that live on your site, but for Reddit in your institution's subreddit. I think that would be absolute gold as well.
Cool. All right, last Q&A question here. Charlene David from University of Michigan asks if you have any recommendations around Reddit for teams of one. This is a huge one for my audience, especially when you get to these like the smaller colleges where it's like maybe one marketing director,
Right.
to rule them all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
It's tough.
what would you recommend as like high leverage, low lift kind of work to do on Reddit?
The number one thing that I would try to do if it's available is create your own subreddit and own it. Like just make sure that you have that, because if someone else creates it, if a student creates it, it's very difficult to get that back. So this is a bit of a brand reputation management and like ownership, like making like PR crisis avoidance strategy, but create and own your own subreddit. That's the number one thing I wish every listener would go and do ASAP. Because if your subreddit is created, you have very close to no chance of getting it back unless it gets completely ignored for multiple years. And then you can request access from Reddit to get it, but it's difficult. The second piece of lightweight effort that I would advise would be to actually install on your site a Reddit pixel and run a small budget of remarketing through Reddit. And the reason why I would encourage you to do this is because if Reddit is one of the top sites in the world, it's likely that your audience is going to Reddit when they're making decisions on which university, what campus, what student, like where they should go. So by running remarketing ads, you're targeting somebody who already considered you. And you're only running ads against the people who are on your website. So it could be a stakeholder, it could be a parent, it could be a guidance counselor, it could be any of those people. And if you run remarketing ads against those people, you're more likely to be top of mind. So that would be one of my pro tips.
Love it. All right, that was fun. We don't do the Q&A section very often, but I thought, we're approaching 100 episodes here, and so
Nice.
so I thought,
That's awesome.
this is a
Very
this is a
cool.
good time to sort of shift a little bit and get some audience inclusion here. So
That was fun.
thanks for humoring me there. All right, so higher ed, we experience this all the time. Just higher ed is generally just like incredibly risk
Yeah,
averse.
100%. Yeah.
And everyone's just afraid of anything, someone saying something wrong. It's just like designed by committee, like all this kind of stuff. What are some fears that people have about Reddit that might be preventing them from really embracing this? What would be your advice? I'm curious also to hear you've been banned 18 times. So
Yeah. 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 I think the fears are real. Like Reddit is one of the most raw, real places left on the internet, where if you go there with the intention of plugging a bunch of links, of extracting value instead of giving it, you're going to be banned. And that's why I was banned. Like when I went into Our Technology, a subreddit back in the day, I took all of my blog posts that I had written about tech, about marketing, about social media, about Reddit, and I started to just seed links. I think I tried to submit 20 links in 20 minutes, and I was banned very, very quickly. And then I got a new account, did the same thing, kept getting banned. And I was like, why am I getting banned from Reddit? And it turns out the reason is simple. You need to understand the stories and the content that your audience wants and then give it to them. So instead of going in being selfish and just saying, this is what I want referral traffic from Reddit, you have to go into your subreddit, your campus, your university's subreddit, whatever it might be. Sort the content by top posts. And when you do that, what you're going to see is the best content that has ever existed in this community that got people talking. And when you see that, you should be able to put two and two together around, okay, what type of stories are these folks resonating with? Oh, they like memes, they like interesting stories, they like in-depth assets, whatever it might be. And then you give that back to them. So study the community before you go in. I know the biggest thing that gets a lot of folks afraid of Reddit is that people have no filter. on Reddit. They will say anything. This is going to happen, folks, whether you like it or not.
Whether you
You
like it or not.
can't
Yep.
control that message. You can influence it though. I would rather be able to influence a message than not have anything to do with it at all, because the stories are happening. We can put up our blinders and pretend, oh, there's not 50,000 people in our university subreddit talking negatively about this one prof every day. Okay, we can pretend that's not happening. Or we can acknowledge it's happening
Yeah.
and we can try to shift things around. I lean towards that. So that's really the key part of it. It's like you can pretend that nothing is happening, but it's still going on. And I think the best thing, we've worked with a few universities in Reddit marketing strategies. One of the things that has given a lot of calm amongst the chaos is community management guidelines. So this is how we show up on Reddit. These are the types of threads that we do engage in. These are the threads that we avoid completely. And this is how we manage that. So having that type of a structure provides a lot of institutions with a lot of clarity on this is how we show up. And then they can even bring on someone who's a Reddit specialist to lead that, or they can have a community manager lead that type of thing.
That's really smart. Yeah, having some guidelines and
Yeah.
kind of keeping everyone in line. So, you're mostly in B2B, and you said you worked with some universities. So your answer to
Yeah.
this can be either or. But can you tell me a story of an opportunity on Reddit that was missed? Could be by
Oh, I've
a
got
major
one.
brand,
Yeah.
smaller organization. How could that organization have flipped that into an asset?
So this one, we did flip it, but it was long after the opportunity had arose. So we were working with this partner, and they have a ton of great, valuable, educational, sometimes historic content, like a lot of universities. Like imagine that they're publishing journals, they're publishing reports. This one institution had this landing page and this asset that talked about a moment in history that was significant to their campus culture, and it was cool. Every year for the last 4 years, they had a traffic spike of 125,000 people on a single day going to this page. Nobody talked about it. Nobody at the campus knew. No one knew why. So we did research into Google Analytics, and it turned out that it was going viral in this subreddit called Today I Learned on Reddit. So every year, someone would share this link on Reddit, and hundreds of people, thousands of people would be talking about it, having conversations about it, discussing it, celebrating it. And we were like, you folks know that people really like this thing that you did back in like 1962 that no one talks about? They're like, really? And we're like, why don't you create a Facebook ad or a campaign around this concept and see what it does? They did it, 900,000 plus views after. And now they can rinse and repeat that same strategy. Some people are sitting on cultural and audience gold that they don't even realize because the conversations are happening on Reddit. Reddit has such a pulse on what people care about that institutions and organizations that have published tons of great information are just sleeping on things that people care about that they don't even know about. So that was cool. That was one of the most rewarding projects I even was ever on. It was a few years back, but it was rooted in Reddit, research that then goes multi-channel outside of the platform. And I think a lot of brands are sitting on that.
That's interesting. Yeah. And I really like those Reddit threads that Today I Learned. One of our clients is University of Chicago.
Cool.
And I was in Chicago on a shoot there. And I don't know why I Googled this or something, but for whatever reason, I found out that the city of Chicago was lifted
Interesting.
like a lot, like a
That's
couple
cool.
feet or something like that. It's something about like it was like
Floods
flooding
something?
or
Yeah.
something like that from Lake Michigan or something like that. So
Cool.
they engineered this way to lift the entire city. And I'm
That's
just
wild.
like, that was a brilliant, like Today
Yeah,
I learned
that
that,
is
stuff like that, where it's like this sort of like
right. Did you know that your
lore or
campus
whatever.
is hundreds
Yeah.
of feet up in the air? Yeah. That's
Yeah. I'm like, I don't even know how, I mean, it's like, if you want to teach a University of Chicago, if they had like I'm sure they do like engineering,
right. True.
things like, here's an example from
That's so
our
cool. Yeah.
from our city,
That's so cool.
because that's amazing. I don't even know how you do. I don't even know how they like move a building. Like
It's true. Yeah.
the house that my mom lives in is the oldest house in Troy, Michigan, just outside of
Right.
Detroit. It was like this tall house.
Yeah.
where you'd have to like pay the toll to like keep going down
Really?
Rochester Road. And eventually they picked it up and moved it. And so now it's like this historical site.
That's so cool. That's
But I'm
wild.
like, yeah, how do you just move a house?
How do you do that for a whole city? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I love that.
So Ross, you've advocated for organizations to have their own subreddit. So our friend Denise from the Q&A has taken that step. What would be your action plan for her for the next 3 to 6 months in terms of habits she can put in place to build consistency and make steady progress? So I feel like the question really is like, what would be the step-by-step? Like, do this, then do this, then do this.
Yeah. So the first thing that I would recommend is that you take a step back and don't create anything, because the first thing that you're probably going to want to do after listening to this is start creating a bunch of content, and that content might get you banned. So what I would actually do is go and identify 5 to 10 subreddits where your audience is. If you don't know where they are, there's this tool called SparkToro where you can upload your university's domain and it will tell you what subreddits your visitors are more likely to visit. So then once you've gotten that, you're going to see the top subreddits. Then I want you to go into those subreddits, sort the content by top posts, and study them. You're looking for trends. You're seeing which content got the most upvotes, the most comments, the most likes, all of that stuff. And that's going to provide you with insight into the types of stories your audience want in those different subreddits. Then your account is going to join those subreddits, and you're going to do something outside of just posting. You're going to cross post. So you'll share content in those subreddits, and then you'll cross post it in your own subreddit. But you're not just going to end there. You're going to go into those communities and you're going to add value in the comments and people who are asking questions. You're going to do this over the course of a month. It's not something that you do in one day. Add 15 minutes to your calendar every day for a month where you're just going to do Reddit activity. And some of it is going to be pre-scheduled, so you don't actually have to do it every day. You're going to schedule content from your website by doing an analysis of your most viral, most visited, most trafficked, most shared content. If you don't know what that is, go to Google Analytics or use a tool called BuzzSumo, which will show you any of the URLs that you have published that have generated a lot of shares on Reddit. You're then going to schedule those to go into your subreddit, and then you're going to again encourage people from outside of your Reddit through ads or through your newsletter, through social, to join your university subreddit. Rinse and repeat that for 12 months. And I would say with relative confidence, you're going to see a shift in the sentiment around your institution on Reddit. You're probably going to see a lot of threads that you started or contributed to cited in the LLMs, as well as showing up in Google. And that's the playbook.
That can seem overwhelming, but I love what you said about 15 minutes every day. So
Yeah.
I have this little analog timer that just sits on
Cool.
my desk. I don't know, it was like $15 on Amazon. And
Yeah.
that's me on LinkedIn. I set a timer for 30 minutes
Cool.
every morning with my coffee, and I respond to messages. I
that.
reach out to new people. I comment on people's stuff. It's just like, I think just that having one block of time where you're just gonna be in the world of that platform
Yeah.
and figure something out or just move some stuff forward
Yeah.
is huge. At least that's how my brain works. I'm just like, I just like the safety of knowing I don't have to have it all figured out right now. And I don't have to like hope that I'm going to be consistent,
Yep.
Make a really big push and then like hope that the habit sticks or something
Exactly.
like that. But if it's
Yeah.
like, just take a small bite every day and
I agree.
figure it out within that time frame.
100%. Yeah, like calendar management in this world today is so important. Like you have to be able to say, I'm willing to invest, because that's what it is. Like folks think that they're just like wasting time on Reddit. No, this is an investment of your time. You're investing in this platform to create content for the benefit of the university, for the institution. So you're investing 15 minutes. 15 minutes over 300, 200 days is a lot of time. Like that's a lot of invested time, but it's all it takes is to block that into your calendar, and the compounding rewards can be significant.
And you mentioned Denise should avoid just like posting, right away,
Right away.
posting content
Yeah.
right away. Is there anything else that you would recommend that she avoid in that first, I don't know, three months or something like that? Just
Yeah, in the first month, I would actually avoid links. I would avoid sharing links in that first month, because links scream, oh, you're being selfish. Unless it's a link to like a funny YouTube video or a GIF or a cat or something, like people will
Right.
be okay with that. But if it's to your site, if it's an institution page, like people are going to be a little bit sketched by that. So first month, I wouldn't share any of those links. I would try to just build my karma up in those early days. And then after my karma is strong, start thinking about sharing links and distributing those as well.
Got it. Love it. All right, let's talk about Reddit as a distribution platform. So,
Yeah.
Josie, let's say Josie from UChicago's Data Science Institute from our Q&A here has just created a video that's, say, an alumni spotlight, and she wants prospective students to see it. So is it as simple as her just posting to the school's subreddit? Should she write something that leads into the video so there's some like 0-click value? Right. Like what's something like, how do you handle that? Like I've got a piece, I want to get people to see it. How do you handle distribution on Reddit?
Yeah, there's two ways. One is the organic and one is the paid. So on the organic side, you're very close. Like, yes, you're going to share that video link directly in the subreddit where the university is. However, you're not just going to share the link and walk away. You are going to add context. So you're going to write a bit of a story around why the video exists, what its intention is, tell the story a bit with written text. So it's something that can be easily crawlable. You're then going to pin that in your subreddit. So if you own the subreddit, I want you to pin that post so people who visit it for the first time are meeting it kind of like a billboard where they see that pinned video, they watch it, they consume it, and then they make a decision of whether or not they want to join your community and your subreddit as well. Now, the other piece of this is paid. So you do need to consider running paid distribution to reach other communities. So if you are actively just running your own subreddit, but you want to show up in a subreddit for our technology, if you're a technology institute, or pharmacy, if you're going after pharmacists, you can run ads in these communities to reach those people as well. Or even a state specific subreddit would probably be a brilliant play for a lot of you as well.
Got it. All right. That makes sense. Okay. So for people looking to dip their toes into Reddit for the first time, I'm really big on like, where do you go to learn?
Yeah.
Like what's one subreddit that you'd encourage marketers to follow right now, higher ed specific or not?
So Reddit for Business is actually really good. I would recommend that people go to Reddit for Business, which is their subreddit that is dedicated to talking about running ads, talking about marketing, etc., to learn a little bit more about how the application of Reddit for business or institutions work. So I joined that subreddit. You can also look at our marketing. You can look at our big SEO, those subreddits. There's a lot of marketing oriented subreddits, but specifically around Reddit, I think the our Reddit for Marketing subreddit is number one. I have a chapter in my book, Create Once, Distribute Forever, that is dedicated to Reddit as well, that I would encourage folks to check out. And I'd say don't hesitate to embrace Reddit in the Reddit way. So if you have a question, go to Reddit for Business and ask the question. Marketers who use Reddit for business will respond to you, and you'll be able to get a great taste of what Reddit is like by just being in that community.
Cool. Love it. And when we say, you're saying our marketing, our Reddit for business, we're saying the letter R /
Yes.
marketing.
Great clarification. Yes, John. So whenever you're talking about our marketing, our big SEO, R means subreddit. So reddit.com/r/Reddit for business. That would be a subreddit domain. If I'm talking about an individual user account, it would be reddit.com/u/r/Simmonds. And that's my account. So that's the difference. R means subreddit, U means user.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes that doesn't come across for people that are just
It's not
listening.
obvious. It is Reddit has a whole new language that you have to learn. So that would be my other piece of advice to everyone is like, be gentle on yourself. You're not going to pick up all the lingo. Probably took me a year and a half before I knew what Reddit Gold was. Even though I was getting it, I had no clue what it was. And I know you're probably like, what is Reddit Gold? Chill. Just, you'll find out soon. You'll find out someday. You don't need to know everything right away.
So on a personal note, so we often learn the most from failure. Can you tell me about a moment when something didn't go the way you expected on Reddit, but maybe it ended up teaching you something that shaped the way you work or the way that you advise your clients now?
Yeah, John, when I first got on Reddit, I thought I could win by sharing good content. And my content on my site was good content. I was just repurposing it and taking the links and sharing it in all of these subreddits thinking, of course they're going to like it. People on Hacker News like it. People on X like it. People on LinkedIn like it. Why wouldn't Redditors like my content? And after getting banned multiple times, I realized the idea that I've shared with your listeners today. You need to sort content in these individual subreddits by top posts so you can understand the types of content they want. When I did that in these communities, I realized none of the top posts are links. So these people
Mm.
actually hate links in these communities. Some communities love it. Some communities want links. That's why I say every subreddit, you have to do this sort technique to understand what content market fit looks like within this community. For them, for the group that I wanted to connect with, entrepreneurs, marketers, tech founders, etc., they wanted all of the texts from my blog posts copied and pasted into Reddit so they didn't have to leave the platform. When I
Mhm.
started doing that, I started getting karma. I started to get gold. I started to have threads that had hundreds of comments. I started to win on the platform. So my advice out of this failure, which was lots of blocks, I had like 4 months where I couldn't even log in to Reddit, and I was like close to winning my fantasy football championship and I lost it because I couldn't get into Reddit anymore. Like my biggest piece of advice to folks is truly to embrace the idea of studying a community before you jump into it.
Yeah, zero click content. I feel like there's a lot of people in marketing that will, are still out here saying like, hey, go check out my blog post. Here's a link.
Right.
And not understanding the value of just like putting everything in the post because it's like, well, we want people to end up on our website. It's like,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, do you want people to get the value off your
Right.
website?
Yeah. It's
So
so true. And I think it's the same thing on Reddit. That was the biggest lesson. It was like people want to have it right here. So I had to change my behavior. And instead of just trying to send them to the URL, I had to take all the value, deploy it there, still include at the bottom, like, hey, if you want more, check out this link. Or I'll give them 3 tips instead of 5. And then say, if you want the other 2, just check out my website. I break it all down. And so you can find a way to still get that visitor. I like the visitor because you can get that email subscription and then you can nurture the relationship. And all of us do. But that's kind of the thinking around it.
yeah. Yeah, it's smart. As a marketer in general, stepping outside of Reddit a little bit, what's an area where you are actively learning right now? What resources have been helpful to you in that learning?
Yeah, so Reddit has been helpful in the learnings, but I have been spending a lot of time better understanding video. I've been trying to really crack the code around video. I think video is one of the last formats that is difficult to replicate with AI. And because of that, I believe we're seeing a necessity from the market of seeing humans more human, and people want to connect with people, and thus I'm all in on video moving forward. I think it's the last frontier for AI to replicate. It's getting close. It's not there yet, but I think video is still the closest that we have as people to stay human to human.
Yeah, for sure. It is getting, and I've been experimenting with Sora 2,
Mm,
and it is getting
wild,
it's getting
so
pretty
wild.
crazy. And I'm
It's getting
like,
crazy.
man, it's still not quite there. It's not like
Yeah,
quite usable, but it's scarily close.
it is scarily close. It is scarily close. I think the one thing that is very interesting with those platforms, or even with video in general, is like it's still very difficult to replicate the rawness in real time of like a live or somebody just sending you an off the cup video 1-to-1. Like that's still very difficult, but we're going through a wild time. It's cool, but it's
Yeah,
wild. Yeah.
for sure. All right, man. Well, put a bow on it on this Reddit discussion for us. How would you sum up your advice here to our audience of Marcom leaders?
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice is folks, over the last few years, maybe even decades, you've invested a ton of money, time, energy in creating robust content engines. You've told great stories, you've created great landing pages, blog posts, etc., and you're sitting on literal gold. Some of that content is collecting dust. The best posts from 2018, 2019, 2021, 2024 shouldn't just collect dust. It should be repackaged, repurposed, Redditified, if you will, and then given to the community that already probably wants it, is maybe already talking about it, and give it to them regularly. And then apply that same thinking to every other channel that you have. That would be my biggest piece of advice. It would be, don't be afraid of Reddit. Be afraid of the stories that you invested in collecting dust when they could actually be collecting more applications and results for the institution.
Love that. Perfect. All right, man. Well, tell us, where can people connect with you? I know you got a book, you got
Yeah,
a couple of companies.
yeah,
Tell us about all the
definitely.
things.
Yeah, so easy to find. You can find me on LinkedIn if you want to get connected. Just type in Ross Simmonds. But I also run Foundation. Foundation is a digital marketing firm. You can go to foundationinc.co to learn more about us. And we have an entire page dedicated to higher ed if folks want to learn more about those services that we offer and how we work with higher ed companies on a day-to-day basis. And then, of course, as I mentioned, distribution.ai, a software that I've been building to help brands spread their stories. And then lastly, if folks really do enjoy a good book, create once, distribute forever. I'd encourage them to check out the read. But before we wrap, John, I want to say thank you to you and congrats on almost getting to 100 episodes. That's a huge accomplishment. Anybody who can create 100 episodes of anything is doing something right and adding a lot of value to their industry, their community. So thank you for doing that. And yeah, I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man. Thanks for being here. It's great honor to have you here. And it's one of those episodes where I'm like personally curious. So I'm just like, this is perfect. Cause I'm just like, I'm just like thinking of all the questions straight from my heart. They're
Nice.
all the same questions that I personally have. So
That's awesome.
yeah, thanks for being here. It's great chatting with you.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. 3 things I want to invite you to before you go. Number 1, if you want to know what's working right now in higher ed video, like what videos are getting tons of views, likes, comments, all that, you can get ungated access to our report, aptly named What's Working in Higher Ed Video, a comprehensive guide for higher ed Marcom leaders and content creators. So check it out at unveiled.tv/higher ed video, and you might want to bookmark it because it's designed to be a resource for you that you can keep referring back to for inspiration. Number 2, reminder to sign up for my free newsletter all about content creation and strategy at unveiled.tv/newsletter. And number 3, follow me on LinkedIn. If you're searching for me, my name is John Azzoni. It's spelled Johnazoni. I'm on there all day, every day, for better or for worse, posting regular content and engaging with folks like you. So I'd love to connect with you on there. And with that, we'll catch you on the next episode of the Higher Ed Storytelling University podcast. And as always, I am cheering you on. Okay, bye.